Hello, everyone. So great to see you. I'm Melinda Garvey. I am the co-founder of Austin Woman Magazine and super excited to be here today with Ana Villegas. She is the CMO at NI, and we are so proud and excited to have them as our presenting sponsor for our upcoming Women's Way Business Awards. And I hope that y'all are going to be there. It's May 19th. Believe it or not, we are live in person at the Long Center, but we're going to be outside in a totally safe environment in a really upscale, cool garden party. So I hope that you'll come out and celebrate these amazing female-led businesses. It's going to be a really, really powerful, fun evening. And gosh, I know if you're like me, you need to get out of the house. So come on and join us. But Ana, I'm just so excited to have you here today and just to get to know a little more about you. I actually had the pleasure of meeting you. What was it, this summer when I moderated a panel, I think? And
yes.
I kind of stalked you a little bit because we became fast friends. I was just fascinated with your story and just the things that you were passionate about. So I'm really excited to share that today, with our followers and our readers.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, of course. So I would love for you just to talk a little bit about your background, because you are not from the US. I'd love for you to talk about sort of growing up. You're from Peru, I understand, and just kind of talk about, growing up and sort of what eventually brought you to the States.
I grew up in a very conservative society. It was a society where women's role was primarily to become mothers and wives, but not so much to have a career. So, early on when I was in school, and I went to an all-girls school, I was always trying to figure out what my dad is doing when he leaves home, right? What's work about? Because all I saw was my mom and she taking care of us. So I had this little, chip in my heart early on of saying, hey, maybe there's something there. Mary, where's this thing that's called work and how can I figure it out? So when time came for me and I studied hard, I was always a top A student, great grades, but I didn't have any information about what the work was about. But I had heard that engineering was one of the most difficult ones. And I said, okay, I want to try for engineering. So, I applied for school in engineering, I got accepted, and that was my first shock with reality and learning that I had for my career. Because once I was accepted to engineering, I started my year, I realized that I was a minority. There was, like, for every 10 guys, there was one woman. And it was a completely different type of environment in terms of how you build those relationships, how you influence, right? How you spend time. The guys will eat or have a homework and then go to a bar to drink together. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. Can we do something different? So early on, it really, I felt that I was becoming aware of what it means to be that different one, either in a room, in a group, or in a larger organization. And it started my empathy that I have today and my passion for diversity, because I do think that it's something really important for organizations. So that was my first part, right? Studying engineering, got a job, was there for around 5 years, and things in Peru were not easy. At that point, there was terrorism, and for me, it was hearing the bombs go, and then losing friends because they have been attacking one of these attacks from the terrorists. I was like, I don't know if I can raise a family in this country, and I need to find more opportunities. And the second reason was really at that point, the thoughts and the way people look at the role of a man versus a woman were still very conservative. So even though I was, advancing my career, etc., there are some opportunities that I didn't have because I was not going to go to, the bar and drink it out with somebody, or I refused to be treated as I was one more of the guys. So that was the other piece that impulsed me and say, I want to go to, to another place that's more developed, because here is going to take me a while. I can always come back to Peru, but let me try that. So I applied to Kellogg, got accepted, and arrived in the US back in June of 2001. And then September 11 happened, and all the work and opportunities that International had were canceled. And that's where I really had to figure out, how do I really survive and eat while I'm looking for my job? So those were very hard months where I had to survive in a tuna can, right, every day. And I was able to find a job doing a databasing access, which I've never done before, but I took the chance and learning myself. And finally, I got the job at Dell, moved to Austin, never been in Austin before, but it was just my chance to keep growing. So those were, two big experiences. And then my third one came working corporate America, because I come from a society where you don't talk about your wins, right? You don't toot out your own horn. And here, the first year was very hard because my manager told me, Anna, you're great, but nobody knows what you're doing. And nobody knows you. And I was like, well, we're in a meeting and you're already talking. So what should I aggregate? And he said, no, you need to be speaking up, because that's the way you're going to make sure people know who you are. It's part of your brand and your awareness. So that was my third part of my journey to where I am today, was how do I grow and really show my superpowers versus hiding and saying, okay, I'm going to be nice and I'm not going to speak up because those are people that are in a room probably know more than I do. And that's not the truth. So for me, it's being a journey. It's being a personal journey to get to where I am today. I am proud of me, but I'm more proud of representing, right, the Latino woman, of representing the person who was always the, weird duck in the pond. And that even with all of these challenges, I still was able to move forward and move up and get to where I am today.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I think it's so important that we have these role models, because someone would look at you now and think, wow, look at her career. She's now CMO of NI, she's got this flashy job, and, she probably was set out on that trajectory. And to overcome, where you came from, which is, as much of a, the people around you, maybe not believing in you as much or holding you back, the society, but also mentally, you had to change mentally. And I think that this is, I love you talk about, really being able to own your superpowers and to be able to talk about your superpowers. And women, it's hard for us sometimes. And I think that the thing that women are best at is actually talking about other people's superpowers. And that's why it's so critical that we come together and that we build networks of other women and that we support each other and champion, because sometimes it is hard to overcome that internal voice is like, wow, I can't talk about myself. But when you have other women surround you that are championing you and helping you, that can be really, really powerful. So I appreciate you sharing that. And of course, you have a young daughter, you have a 9-year-old daughter. And, I imagine, what kinds of things are you, teaching her and making sure that sort of she understands as she grows up?
Yeah, with my 9-year-old, her name is Audrey, right? Since the day I knew I was having a girl, my main really priority for her have been, how do I build an emotional, healthy person who believes in herself? Yeah. So when I will have the early, conversation with teachers in her kindergarten, and they were like, oh, she can do this and she can do the colors. I was like, I want to know how she is doing from a more emotional angle and making sure she owns, right, who she is. And that has been for me my main priority. For me, it's being a role model, right? And I have an amazing marriage with an American man where we share everything. We share the cooking, we share the cleaning, we share who take her to school. So showing all of that to her, I think it's been very important. And there's a story I remember of her one time, and we were doing the bedtime, And she was saying, Mommy, I want to have 5 kids when I'm older. I want to be a mommy and have 5 kids. And I said, Audrey, that's a lot of work, because she also wants to be a scientist. So it's like, you're a scientist, 5 kids, that's a lot of work. I just want to tell you that, so you acknowledge that. And she said, no, Mommy, that's not going to be so much work, because there's always also going to be a daddy that helps me. And that, oh my God, I almost cried. I was like, this is everything I want her to look at the world that way, that yes, she can do it, and she can have somebody helping her and next to her, right, working together.
That perspective is absolutely amazing. I love that. So as we kind of wrap up, tell us a little bit about this new branding for NI. I mean, y'all went through this big brand, and, talk to me about, what do you want the public to see about NI? What is it what's the takeaway for us?
Absolutely. So NI, which before was called National Instruments, it's a company that have been, in the market for 40 years. And we work on the test and measurement arena, which means that almost everything you use on a daily basis, your car, if you travel the airplane, right, your phone, your electronics, your TV, your et cetera, you have in your house, everything has to be tested, either when you are in prototype and companies are creating what's the next product, or when it's already in production and companies are making sure that there is no, defects and the quality is strong. So that's the company. And when we started the rebrand, it was all about, this is not about a logo, and this is not about a color. This is more about how, as a company, we want to modernize and elevate the people who work in test and measurement, which primarily are engineers. So if you look at our campaign, right, when we talk about NI, the next thing we always say is engineer ambitiously, because this campaign is all about elevating those stories versus talking about our products. That comes later. But in this case, is how we go into that first layer about the passion and how we want to really enable, right, this group of people. And then the second part of the campaign was when we were ready to launch, COVID hit, and we had to change on the spot a lot of things. And one of the things that we did change was the message. We were going to launch with a message, like when you talk about engineering ambitiously, and then you go into the next level and talk about cases and stories about failure, because through failure, people learn, and through testing different things, people get to a better product. But with COVID, failure was not the message we could put in the market. It was not the right time to talk about failure. So that the company, the corporate impact team that has all that diversity and looks at social responsibility, etc., they have been working on the effort around engineering of hope. And that's really the story we brought up, and we brought early in the process. So we started and we launched this campaign with engineering of hope. And the stories where, because of engineers, things have become possible, lives have been saved, development have been made, and innovation have helped STEM and other topics. And it just helped us wrap this story, where we basically are focusing again in our customers versus talking about our logo, our font, and our products.
Right. No, and it's wonderful, because I know that a big initiative also is to, to show NI as a company and how great it is as a company for minorities and for women. I know diversity and inclusion is a passion of yours, but also of the company. And you're looking to have not only 50% women at the company, but also 50% women in management, which is amazing. And, it's definitely a company that women should take a look at. You might not, on the surface, you might not know much about NI, but pretty cool place to work. And gosh, if they could work for someone like you, that would all the better to have a role model like that. So thank you so much, Ana. I really appreciate all your words of inspiration and telling your story. And, we look forward to watching NI and watching you grow your role.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to share and to participate.
Absolutely.